All right, guys. First of all, thank you all so much for being here. I've had the privilege of getting to know so many of y'all from a few years in the industry. Good friends Karam and Gabby walking in, the Patels down in the front, just good people. And the whole point of this podcast, of starting this podcast, was to build community within the inspection industry. Some of the bits that we do on the show, for those of you that follow, actually kind of stem from these conferences where we all get together. Because I don't know about y'all, but my favorite part of these conferences is getting together after the classes, sharing some drinks, sharing stories, getting to know everybody. It's less about the liquor. It's more about the wonderful people, right? And so we have some bits that kind of stem off from that. But this is going to be like Mark was saying, this is a live recording. And we've got my co-host down here.
That's right. I'm Matt Brady. Thank you, guys. I think we're kind of missing something up here, are we not?
Well, we are, but we have to actually start the podcast because you guys are about to participate in a live podcast. All right. Usually, it's just the two of us and our guests that are kind of talking, but we've got so many guests here today. So I'm excited. We're going to involve you guys, but we need y'all to kind of count us in because we have an intro. But it's not a podcast without starting the intro. You ready to do this, man?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, this is the Ride Along Inspection Fuel live episode. I need y'all to count us in for the intro. Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody, welcome into the Ride Along. You guys excited today? I'm excited. All right. See, I'm glad you guys cheered because, Matt, I was going to say, we've got electronics up here. We can make cheers happen.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Just hit a button.
Yeah, that's it. But,
we don't need to today.
We don't.
We have all these beautiful people.
It's awesome, man. I love it. It's we get to kind of bring the show from off air and here in front of this massive little studio here. But we've got some awesome guests. So let's go ahead and introduce them. Start on your side.
Right. So, to my left here, we have Brent Fletcher of Fletcher's Home Inspections out of Colorado. Really excited to have you on today.
Thanks, sir.
And I've got Mr. Travis Jones over here from Smart Roof and Home Performance. How are you?
Doing good.
All right. So, guys, we've got an interesting topic that we're going to be getting in on, Matt. Tell them a little bit about it.
Well, okay, so we were having this conversation just a little bit ago. That's when we came up with the concept, actually. Most of these podcasts are just us kind of riffing, right? We like it to be organic. And I was talking to Travis, and he was talking about, in our inspections, there's something that comes up sometimes that's like, stay in your lane, in your scope of work, stay in your lane. And then we were thinking, or don't. And so, Travis, you kind of came up with the concept. You want to give just kind of a brief idea of what that meant to you?
Yeah. So I'm not an inspector, but I follow you guys a lot because I'm in roofing and insulation. So I get the call from the realtor that the inspector said you need to have your roof evaluated by a qualified roofer. So I'll go out and look. And I had a realtor recently tell me, now you're just looking at the roof. I don't really want you to look at anything else. I want you to kind of stay in your lane. I said, well, that's not what I do. I'm going to inspect the property. And if I see something, I'm going to say something. And it's for the benefit of the buyer, for homeowners. I think that's kind of what we should be doing, is doing the best we can for them.
Yeah, and it's all about just kind of working and, like you said, encompassing as much as possible. I think as inspectors, we are kind of always pushing the boundaries of our lane. I think most of us, at least most people that I know, we work in states that have a standard of practice. We are not just meeting those standards of practice, but it's inspecting a little bit beyond them. There's some things you have to be aware of in doing it, but I feel like we are trying to do that to bring a more helpful and a more thorough report to our clients.
Yeah, and then we've also got another kind of a bent to this conversation with Brent. Bent with Brent. I didn't mean to do that, but it works. Yeah, with Brent Fletcher. So obviously, you and Matt both have huge social media followings, and we want to talk a little bit about how not to stay in your lane when it comes to making content that's relevant and promotes yourself and benefits others.
I see stuff all the time when I'm out doing an inspection, and it might be the neighbor's house that has something that's kind of out of whack, a leaky swamp cooler or whatnot. And that's, I'll go over there and I'll knock on their door and let them know and kind of give them that whole insight. Just because you're on one inspection can't mean you can't do more to help out. And that makes for great content within itself.
Yeah,
definitely. I've done that before. I've done it a bunch of times, actually. I've knocked on the neighbor's door and said, hey, your dryer vent is clogged or something like that. One time I knocked on a door next door, and the lady shunned me away. She thought I was selling something or something, and she was like, no, thanks. I was like, hey, I'm not selling. I just want to. And she goes, no, and slammed the door. And I was like, okay, well, then you don't get that information for
she
free.
Lost out. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. But there's Matt. There's something that we usually do on the show.
Right. I tried to jump the gun on that earlier.
Yeah, it's okay. But we're going to, actually, we can't really. It's called the drink of the day. That's the bit that really kind of stems off of these conferences and hanging out and partaking together. But did y'all bring anything?
I didn't bring anything. I didn't get the memo.
Wait. Oh, hey, let's go.
This was not planned at all.
It was maybe a little bit. But we got Saya Patel here from Social Saya. What do you got for us here?
We got a bottle of bourbon.
Oh,
Bag.
And a bag, some free merch.
All right. And it's a good bag, too. But I like what's in that thing. Oh, my goodness. Look at this. Brand new bottle of Buffalo Trace. We get to do a drink of the day here, guys.
I will just go ahead and pour.
So usually,
2, 3, 4
we'll
fingers.
kind of talk about the drink, but there's a sponsor usually that we do, and in the past has been Inspection Fuel. But today it's Social Sci. So thank you guys so much. Seriously, give it up for Social Sci, everybody. All right. And here's where it's going to get a little bit of fun. We've got these Q&A boxes up here. Actually, Mark, could you help out with the talk boxes? So usually, we partake our drinks throughout the show, but we're actually going to give a toast to you guys, and we have these 3 hats up here. Matt, we want to do a little bit of a giveaway and a toast to some people in this room.
That's right. So do you want to say who we're giving these to?
Yeah. Give them the
what you're looking
category.
for here? So one of these hats is going to go to the person that has been an inspector the longest.
And then one's going to be to the newest inspector. And go ahead.
The last one's going to be for who has done the most inspections individually this year.
So let's do that. Everybody stand up real quick.
They're like, we already did this.
We did this. No, but we're going to be sitting down, right? Yeah, that's it. All right. Sit down if you have been an inspector for, less than 5 years. All right. Sit down if you've been an inspector for less than 10 years. Sit down if you've been an inspector for less than 15. Oh, man, we've got a few left standing. How about less than 20 years? 25 years. Oh, man. All right. 27 years. Okay, we're weeding them down. 28, 29, 30, less than 30 years. Oh my gosh, Mike's still in the back, isn't he? That's cheating, man. We'll mail you a hat. He's a friend of the show already. Yeah. Okay, how many years? How many years you got? 33, Mike? 30. Oh, Mike was. Hey, you know what? We'll send you. Can we send you a hat, Mike? And all right, perfect. Yeah. And what's your name? Dave. Thank you, Dave. That's awesome.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, round two.
Up again.
One more time. Oh yeah, we got to cheers to that guy. Hey,
Yeah.
cheers to Dave. Cheers. All right, cheers, Dave. All right, crunching on ice is terrible.
You could just avoid the ice.
Let's see. Sit down if you have been an inspector for over 10 years. This is going to wipe out so much of the room, right? Over 7 years. We're counting backwards. Sit down if you've been an inspector for over 6 years. Over 5 years. Over 4 years. Over 3. Over 2. Over, well, let's see, 12 months, 11 months, 10, 9 months, 8 months, 7 months, 6. How many months have you been inspector? One. All right.
I didn't see that coming.
How many? 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Gee, he just beat you. Yeah. So, all
Welcome.
right. Hey, what's your name? Barrett. Do you want the camo hat or do you want the gray hat? Okay, buddy. Let's go. All right. Hey, cheers to Garrett. All right. Wait, was there one more? Oh, no, you got robbed. Oh. But you know what? Let's see. What's that? We'll give him. All right. Okay, here we go. I'll give you the one off my head. It's just going to look real funny the rest of the show, okay? There's all sweat under here. Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, well,
Can we
we
sit
would do
down?
most inspections, but I think we got this here. Yeah. All right, thanks, guys. That's Matt. That might be my favorite drink of the day that we've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good one, no doubt. We don't
Definitely.
usually get to give things away. It's hard to throw things at people through
When
the
you can't
computer
see
screen.
them half the time with these bright lights. Okay, but let's jump right into it, guys. Let's talk about exactly what we were talking about before, which is when do we know to stay in our lane as inspectors, and when do we know to venture outside of it? Some of this can come down to standards of practice, when we exceed those. But Travis, why don't you lead the discussion on this? What are ways that you think are most important for inspectors to consider stepping outside the box?
Yeah, so I'm doing a class here shortly talking about resilient roofing, and one of the big topics I'm going to cover is ventilation. I think that's one of the, in my market, I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth, so we're in a hot, humid climate, and attic ventilation is just almost never right. We're in a huge hail market, so we're re-roofing all the time. So I can say I've yet to re-roof a house that I think the ventilation was actually to code when we got our hands on it. So we do the calculations, we figure it out, and we re-roof it. But the things that I see when I'm following an inspector that has said they never say anything about the ventilation in my market. You guys might do it. I hope you do. How many of you actually, does anyone call out if you think the ventilation is wrong? Good for you. Well, that's why you're here. But when it's wrong, you have to decide how much you can say, what you're willing to say about it. And I'm going to go over 5 different points in my class, but about, do we have balanced ventilation? Do we have the same kind of ventilation? Those kinds of things. Being able to call that out, because there's a phrase, I know you put this in your reports, I read them in the reports. It's like, recommend seeking the advice of a qualified roofer. And at least in Dallas, Fort Worth, qualified's doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, because there's just not a lot of roofers who even take the time to do the calculation. So they may be seeking advice from someone who they haven't done their homework. They don't know. So I think it's one of the things that has inspired me. It's been, as Matt and I have gotten to know each other, we met through building science type of events.
Yeah, and that's really where our relationship started, because we were studying building science and learning from each other and learning from other people. And I think the having an idea or having a knowledge base in building science as an inspector is one way to step out of your lane. Not necessarily just calling the problem, but kind of learning why. Now, I don't think we should tell people how to fix things, right? Because that's not our job, right? But knowing why the problem might happen. It's sometimes it's about guiding them to a better way to figure out exactly what the problem is. It's going to get them closer to getting something fixed. I'll give you an example. I find a lot of homes that have, let's say, for example, maybe a multi-story house, 2-story house, one HVAC system, multiple thermostats, one upstairs, one downstairs. Sometimes maybe one in another bedroom or something like that. I find those to be not working correctly a lot. And what I mean by that is, like, the upstairs will work the downstairs, or the downstairs will work the upstairs. I go into these people's houses sometimes at 11 months, right before their builder's warranty is going to expire. And they're like, we just can't be comfortable. We've had the HVAC company, they come out multiple times and they can't find a problem. Why can they not find a problem? It's because they go there and they check the delta, but across the coil, the delta is fine. And so then they leave telling them that everything works fine and the people are still uncomfortable. Meanwhile, because they're getting the wrong temperature on the wrong floor of their house. But through my inspections, and I figured it out one day that this was happening, just by, happenstance. And then out of curiosity and wanting to find out how often this is happening, I changed my process. And the way that I operate the thermostats lets me identify that problem that most HVAC companies aren't going to find, because they don't know to test that way. They just go in and turn on the system, check the delta, and that's it.
But how did you come to that conclusion on your own, that method of testing? Did you learn that from somebody else?
Yeah, no, it just happened one day. I was actually wrapping up an inspection with some clients and a realtor. I was upstairs, and I had the thermostat off upstairs, and I knew I had it off, and the one downstairs was still running. And whatever it was, cool air, hot air, something was blowing right on my head. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't right. I know I had this one off. I went and I checked the thermostat. Sure enough, it was off. The downstairs one was on. And that's when I realized it was happening. Prior to that, I would just go in, turn on both thermostats and take my temperatures that way. But from that day forward, I run them individually to try to identify where each thermostat actually does operate, because there's several different things that can go wrong there with zoned systems like that. And I was able to figure that out. And I swear I find it in about 60% of homes.
Now that's huge. But Travis, I mean, you do more than just inspections now, and yeah, I kind of want to talk about why you've decided to branch out just beyond just that, anyway, and how you kind of incorporate that knowledge from expanding your education and your knowledge back into the inspection side of things.
Well, a few years ago, I was just doing roofing, and we had our big Snowmageddon event in Dallas, Fort Worth, and it got me interested in solar as maybe an idea of, hey, when the grid is down, maybe solar would work. And as I kind of learned a lot more about that, well, you need batteries. It doesn't solve every issue, but kept asking questions, and it comes back to and with my teams, I say one of the most important character traits you can have in our field, and I think in your field, is curiosity. And just being willing to keep asking questions about, well, why is it that way? And so noticing from a solar standpoint, why are houses using so much energy? Why are we having to put so many solar panels in order to meet their annual demand? And finding out a lot more about building science and the building envelope, and how we can, not just from an energy standpoint, but I see it as how can I help make a house better, which for me is more comfortable, healthy, durable. And really those houses tend to be very energy efficient. So that's what we do. I kind of attics. I'm in the attic already looking, as a roofer. So that's kind of where our insulation and our air sealing business grew out of that, just continuing to ask questions about how can we do this better. And so I sort of try to address that in every inspection when I'm at a house, kind of how's the whole house as a system? What's our part in fixing that, making it better? And how can I kick it over to other people?
I think that's the deal as inspectors. Like, we are the only ones that are looking at the whole thing. Everyone else is staying in their lane, and we are looking at all of this stuff and seeing how it works as a system. So, I mean, I think inherently in our job, we are kind of veering in and out of lanes. That's just what we do.
So when you all do inspections in attics, does anybody ever take a meter up there to check the temperature and the humidity levels? You can get so much information out of that when you're seeing that attic's 20 degrees hotter than the outside temperature. I do a lot of new builds out in Colorado, and one thing that I run into more times than not, everything looks fine. You got enough vents on the top, you got the soft vents, you got everything. More times than not, they're blowing insulation and covering up all the baffles. And now you have no intake in there. So that's one little thing maybe outside the lane is I'm going that extra mile, try to figure out what's causing the improper ventilation and relating that.
I think that's what kind of, going out of your lane, or what was it? Stay in your lane, or don't.
Or don't, yeah.
Or don't. I think that's really what it means. It's just kind of going that extra mile.
I think another thing is, like, when you're doing these defects, a lot of people are going to write, what's the problem and the correction? Obviously, improper ventilation in the attic, recommend further evaluation, right? What's the problem? Why is it a problem?
There you go.
That's what you need to. That's a key in there too.
Understanding the why. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Fletch, I want to ask you, when it comes to inspecting in Colorado, that's not inspection regulated, right?
Yeah, there's no certification requirements to be a home inspector in Colorado.
So how do you then, I mean, if we're talking about stay in your lane or don't, there's no clear lane, as far as like state standards of practice. So how do you define that, your scope of work?
Right. So I'm InterNACHI certified master inspector. So I do go heavily off of that standard of practice, but it does give me a lot of freedom. And we can always talk about code and all that good stuff. And I appreciate the code inspectors for what they are. But without being a code inspector, I'm allowed to have an opinion. I'm allowed to see something and elaborate on it and kind of go off on, why I think it could happen and, your best course of action from there.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And one other thing, Travis, bringing it back to you, man. We talked about this on a previous episode that we did. For those of y'all that aren't subscribed to the show, this is actually a good place to say, go ahead and do that. Take out your phones, wherever you listen to a podcast, look up the Ride Along Show or the Ride Along Home Inspection Show. You can look on YouTube. It's actually live streaming there right now. But anyway, we had an episode that we did with Travis previously, but there was a comment that you made back then that I think is super important and relevant now, which is that you really look for ways on how to advise people to make existing homes better. So what are ways that you do that during your inspection?
Yeah. Wow. I think the whole idea that it's exciting. A lot of the content we see out there is about new homes, and there's going to be a lot more new homes. But I heard a stat recently that at a building science conference where he said that in 2050, 80% of the buildings that will exist in 2050 have already been built right now. So in the next 25 years, we're only going to see
That's wild.
20% more buildings, which means we got to figure out how to fix the existing buildings, existing commercial, existing residential. And so I think it all starts with approaching a house as a system and saying, this house is supposed to be durable, comfortable, healthy, and efficient. We have to manage our control layers. That's a big concept in building science. We're trying to manage water, air, vapor, heat. And so as I'm looking at a house, that's kind of what's going through my head is what's my part in that? And then if I see something that, so I kind of deal with the envelope, if you will, the building envelope, the insulation, the roof, which is obviously a huge part of shedding water. And then the mechanicals, I'm trying to educate myself more and more about that so I can give a better handoff and referral to the HVAC guys that I've built relationships with. I'm not trying to do their job, but I want to be able to set them up and help identify the real issues.
Yeah. No, that's huge, man. And I feel like you guys have probably heard those two words a lot this week, building science. I don't want to just throw it around the same way that people use a hashtag or, kind of a buzzword on social media. I want to kind of pivot to talking about how we can go outside the box in terms of expanding our education. Because for me, I wasn't even aware of that term, that field of study, what it meant. Because I existed as a home inspector for several years as just a guy that checks the boxes. I understood a little bit about this system, but never, it wasn't until, actually, she's sitting right over there, Tessa Murray. It wasn't until I went to ASHI Inspection World in 2020, listened to her presentation, and I didn't even understand that this was an entire all-encompassing field of study where you think of the entire home as a system. Rocked my dang world and changed how I look at everything. But Matt, what was like kind of that aha moment for you when you started to think of things differently, and as far as expanding your education outside of traditional maybe inspection methods?
God, I don't know. I mean, it's all been so fascinating. I'm still learning, and it's one of those things I think we should always kind of be learning. But I mean, I think just like the concept of heat moving to cool. Tessa, you were talking about it yesterday. And when we start to understand that, it opens up a lot of doors. And that's, I think, where it really started for me.
Yeah, that's pretty big. How about for you, Travis?
Man, my kind of wake-up call, I was putting together a solar proposal for a neighbor. And these solar proposals are kind of geared towards get them to 100% of their annual electricity and put every panel on the house you possibly can. And as you step back, it's a little ridiculous. They're in the shade. They're on the north side, which is not good, by the way. Unless you're in Australia, then panels go on the north side. But we want south facing panels, or east or west, but not north. And so I was looking at this and evaluating this person's bill, and I just happened to see that a few months before, their monthly usage dropped by 1,500 kilowatt hours. That's a pretty significant amount. And I said, Angela, what happened? What is going on? And she said, oh, that's when our pool pump broke because it died in our freeze of 2021. I thought, your pool pump uses 1,500 kilowatt hours a month? That's crazy. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's huge, man.
And then I learned about variable speed pool pumps, which if you'll take a variable speed pump, you can run the same amount of water through the filter. And if you run it for twice the time, but half the speed, it uses 1/8 of the energy.
That's huge.
And I was like, wait a minute. And so that was really kind of my entry into the building science rabbit hole, was like, this is important. This affects people. And then sadly, of course, people will put variable speed pool pumps and they'll just run them full, like they're a single speed pump, and they won't get the benefit of that. But I run my variable speed pump 24 hours a day. I run it fast for a couple of hours, slow it down, and then run it really slow. And it helps keep the water fine, but it's a lot less electricity.
You're saying that you have a pool and you never invited us over?
Oh yeah, come on, let's go.
Pool party?
I'm from Dallas. We all have pools.
Okay. Yeah. I'm from Florida. We just have the beach.
Oh.
Hey,
Yeah.
but we got
Better.
pools too, yeah. But we got to put cages over them, and then they blow away in back-to-back hurricanes. Ask how I know. No, this is huge. But here's the cool thing too. Like for those of y'all listening, Matt, there's ways that they can start getting involved in communities that are kind of rallying around these bits of information. Because in classic contractor form, we've taken an educational concept and then added beer. So
Oh, yes. You must be speaking of BS and beer.
I'm talking about BS.
Anybody
beer.
familiar with that? Anybody
Nobody?
know what the BS stands for in BS and beer? I know you do. It's building science. Go figure. Building science in beer. So all across the country and actually in Canada as well. There are communities of people that are coming together to that people that want to do things right, to build things right, to learn and to continue to learn from each other and to, help lend knowledge. And so they get together usually at a brewery or some place that has some good beer. And I'm a part of the community in Houston. Travis, you are the head of the community up there in the Dallas area. Is that correct? Unofficially. So there's communities all over. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, and it's not just contractors, it's not just HVAC people, it's inspectors, it's a big community. And I'm a true believer that, as inspectors, we come to these type of conferences and we learn from inspectors, or we learn, electrical, but I actually think that learning like outside that, right? Learning about construction, it helps us get, it helps us further identify problems within a home and do a better job for our clients. Okay, we might not get credit hours for some of the stuff that we do outside of InterNACHI or outside of inspection fuel conferences, stuff like that. Yeah, we're getting credit for some of this stuff, but if we continue to study, whether it's actual courses that we don't get credit for, or you just connect with some of these people online and listen and learn from what they're putting together, or BS and beer type get-togethers, there's just so much to knowledge to gain from stuff like that.
I'll say this too about BS and beer. Well, first, how many of you are familiar with Fine Home Building Magazine? Have y'all ever seen that? So they're a part of the BS and Beer podcast, and there's also a Fine Home Building podcast, which they'll get these listener questions and they'll ask, where do I find a contractor who's willing to do these better steps? And they'll often say, well, if you have a BS and Beer in your community, go visit it. But the thing is, if you're looking to fill out your roster of people, if you want to be able to give, here's 3 plumbers I recommend, 3 HVAC people. If you do that for your clients, a great place to meet some of those contractors is at a BS and Beer. Absolutely. Because there you have contractors. And the reason we're there, it's at ours, we'll do networking for an hour. We'll have a presentation for about 30 minutes. Last month, we talked about rock wool insulation. This month, we're doing a builder's roundtable. But it's a great place to meet people, like-minded people. I mean, we know you're here bettering yourself, so I know I'm talking to the right people. Like, it's another place where it's full of people like that. So if you have one in your area, and there's tons of handles on Instagram. If you just go search BS and Beer, you'll find probably one near you.
And if you don't have one, maybe you should consider starting one. But also, you were talking about like these places being great places to meet contractors. I mean, he just said earlier, like, finding a qualified roofer, or actually, qualified anything for that matter, can be very difficult, and stuff like that can get you in touch with people. That's how I met Travis, and that's how I know him.
Also, don't forget about social media as well, man.
Social media, for sure. So, I was about to say that I met Travis, of course, through social media, but through that community. But social media can be absolutely huge, because that's the reason I met Brent and how I know Brent.
Yeah, when I first started a home inspection company, I never did an inspection before I owned my company. The first inspection I did was under my own name. I didn't train anyone, so a lot of the insight that I got on how to do it was just by following different home inspectors on social media, like Matt here. And I watch his videos so much just to get all that insight. So I really appreciate. Yeah, don't do that. I didn't copy him at all. Is what I did. But don't forget the connections that you can make from it as well. It's just been phenomenal. I've met home inspectors across the whole U.S. and we all hang out together at these conferences, and it's just been phenomenal. So, but what you can learn from that is just astounding.
But Brent, that's actually a really good pivot there, because we also wanted to talk today about how you can stay in your lane or don't when it comes to content creation. And you are an absolute master of this in your own right, in your neck of the woods. So talk a little bit, if you will, about ways that for inspectors either who are not yet creating content or are trying to really think of a way to kind of establish themselves, find their own voice. What's your advice on how they can go about doing that?
I think when I really started changing my content, that I really saw a difference is, people are looking for someone they can trust, and they want to know that they know you. So when I stopped treating social media like, hi, my name is Brent Fletcher with Fletcher's Home Inspections, and I treated it more like I was FaceTiming a friend, and I just started talking into the phone like I was talking to do a quick cut, don't edit it, just send it. And before I knew it, people started to connecting with that. And then I noticed that when I get to these inspections now, when people hire me from, they see me on TikTok or Facebook, wherever it may be, they come up to me like they know me, and I have no idea who these people are. And they're talking about all these videos they saw. So they've connected on that level, and it built trust before I even met them. So when you're doing that social media, that's the direction I'd recommend going, is treat it like you're just talking to a friend on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in terms of social media, I mean, we're advertising, right? But if you treat everything like an advertisement, you lose people.
Well,
I mean,
right past it.
yeah, I mean, that happens to me whenever I'm watching content. If it looks like some type of ad, then I go past it. So like personality really has to play a part there, and you really got to kind of showcase yourself as much as what you do. If you just walk in there and say, "Hi, I'm an inspector, hire me," that's not going to do it, right? And so we try to employ things. I mean, I think some of my stuff is funny. I think some of your stuff is funny. My wife does not necessarily think.
I don't.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's seriously though. It's not being salesy, I think is huge, Matt, that you said it that way, which is really kind of one of the ways that we have, I guess, defined the voice of this show. Try going to a publicly traded company, telling them that they need to produce content, and when they say, "Cool, what are we going to sell on it?" You say nothing, and they're like, "Excuse me, what?" And it's like, no, listen, we need to be adding value outside of just that. Yeah, like, look, I would certainly recommend, because this is my porch, go check out the ISN table. Go talk to the Guardian guys about Flex Fund. But that's not what we're here to do, right? We're here to give value to you guys, to build community there, and just provide a means of connection, right? So when you think about providing value to your audience, Brent, what are ways that you look to do that specifically?
Repeat the question one more time.
What are ways that you look to provide value in your content to your audience?
I try to be funny because, if you can't pull people in with being a little joke here and there, it's not interesting. But then I try to just every fourth or fifth video, I'm trying to actually put something very educational in there, break it down, and actually make a little bit of a longer of a content. So now you built the trust, and now you can actually explain. Because when I first started doing it, that's all I want to do is to educate. But educate after educate after educate got a little repetitive now, didn't it? So when you start throwing a few jokes in there, being a little bit more personal, now you can hook people and get a little bit more education out you wish.
Well, varying content, right? Because I mean, I have had people that they a lot of times people come to social media because they're buying a house, right? And so they find me, they find you because they're in the market to buy a house.
The algorithm just kicks that.
Yeah, past that, like, why would they even watch our content? We've got to give them a reason to, And so we either have to do things that are going to hook them to somehow, some way, whether it's funny or we bring a little bit more of our personality or other things that we do. I like to vary my content. So I've got a lot of what I do is, just me on a job, on a home inspection, but there are other aspects to the content that I put out there too. I try to kind of push the envelope all the time because I want people to stick around and continue to be entertained, even if they're not buying a house.
There's also an element though where, Matt, you were talking about, thinking some of your stuff is funny. You create for you too, a little bit. Right? Like if you don't enjoy it, what's the point?
Absolutely. I mean, it took a long time to kind of like figure out my voice and like what I wanted to be or do. And it's really just being myself, but yeah, it took a long time to find that. But yeah, I have fun doing it. I mean, it's brutal. I spend hours doing this stuff, guys. Right. So, I mean, like, it's hard.
All the videos you don't post.
Yeah, totally.
For hours.
Well, it's funny. We were talking earlier today, and you posted something. I think it was this morning. This happens to me all the time. I have something like I have tons of videos on my phone. You guys come up and look. They're in files, ridiculous amount of video, right? And I'll have stuff that I sit on because I'm like, well, that's terrible. Nobody's going to like that. Well, and then eventually you post it.
Yeah. So I had this video I took on a few months back, and I didn't like the video. I don't like what was about it, whatever. And I kind of just scrolled past and always went to a different video to post. And this morning I was just, kind of just bored. So I was like, you know what, let's just give this one a shot and I'll throw it out there. So I posted about 8 this morning, and right before we walked in here, it's at about 500,000 views across platforms.
Dang, dude.
You didn't even like it.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, just post it. Don't be scared. Put it out there. Even if you don't like it, somebody might. So.
No, that's huge. And when you were talking about finding your voice, I feel like it's easy with social media to find trends and then maybe duplicate it. But what are ways that you kind of look for and original spark, because that really seems to be the content that does the best.
Right. So the don't do that.
Yeah,
That's
create
not
a catchphrase.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
catchphrase. That one kind of just happened out of nowhere. I made a video and I just said it because I was just bored, and you're just firing off content every day. And I saw that one hooked, and I saw the amount of views and the comments I got on it. So I was like, let me just try it a couple more times. They tanked. They didn't do anything, but I just kept with it. And all of a sudden, boom, I skyrocketed, and that became the catchphrase I'm known for now.
So you just didn't throw that baby out with the bathwater. Like, you just kind of
I gave a
stayed-
little bit more try because it worked once and then it didn't work out. Well, let's keep trying. Let's keep coming back a little bit and playing with it, trying some other ideas until you really zeroed in what is working for you and what's not.
No, that's huge. Travis, what are ways that you look to do that?
Yeah, so if you haven't gotten into social media yet of posting your stuff, you should. You don't have to be hundreds of thousands of followers like these guys. I've got a few thousand followers, and social media does amazing things for me. My first goal was to educate my market, because I know this is true everywhere, but people are price conscious. They don't understand why is my price higher? And so it was a way to get that out there. Because we do more steps. My scope is not the same. You don't know how to do apples to apples comparisons, when this next roofer or next insulator gives you a quote. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to put out there what I do. Sometimes I'll say, hey, go watch this as it's kind of my own little mini commercial to my one customer. But it also then, because I've, have this kind of niche crowd of followers, I get some good engagement on it, and I've gotten some good referrals and calls. And it's also been a way, to build relationships. Just like I was talking earlier about the BS and Beer is a place you kind of meet colleagues that are like-minded. It's been a great way to connect with guys like Matt and some others that, we now will just call each other. I mean, Matt FaceTimed me the other day from an attic.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, what am I looking at?
A nightmare of an attic.
So that it's just been also a way. There's a lot of benefits to it, other than, I'm not thinking, how can I monetize this? I'm thinking, my purpose is to educate and entertain, and then, to continue to grow, my business
Make
that
great
way.
connections. Yeah.
Make great connections.
I called this guy on a 2-hour drive the other day. We talked for an hour. It was great. No, it's just all about business and how we're doing with it and whatnot. It's great.
Now, that's awesome. But let's talk about growing that audience, right? Like, you've found kind of things that were definitely a hook and a big hit with people. But when you were starting out, kind of trying to define that target audience, because we kind of get into the weeds of marketing here a little bit when it comes to being a business owner. Did you start creating just to create? Were you looking at kind of marketing to realtors first, or buyers?
Where it really started. So when I started my the company, I also had my son, so young kid at home, and I didn't really have the opportunity to go out and do a bunch of networking that I wanted to. But I knew that I had to be loud. I had to get my face out there one way or another. So I was like, no matter what, I'm posting every day, because if I can't see people in person, I need them to be able to see me as best I can. So every platform I could, every day I put out a post, and that's really it's the grit, constantly keeping your face out there so people recognize you. So by the time I did get to those networking events, everyone was coming up to me, already knew who I was. They've been watching my content.
No, that's huge, man. But I do want to, Matt, let's talk about this. Kind of thinking outside the box in terms of who you're reaching out to. We actually had a conversation with a guest on the show here earlier today.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a difference of opinion on this, where it's like, where does social media marketing fit into your overall scheme? You could kind of think of things one way. All right, I want to use my content strictly to reach buyers, or for example, here's one of my favorite realtors over here, used to do all of her team's inspections. She spoke earlier, Kristen Francis. I hope you guys saw her presentation. But anyway, my whole thought when I was starting out with social media was trying to reach realtors, and which tack do you take, and when did you kind of start to think outside of that box of it's just this or this?
Well, I mean, and I think trying to reach realtors on social media is a good place to start for an inspector, because I mean they are going to feed you business, and if you, just like you were saying, like, you're transparent about your work, right? They can actually see you. It's not just sample reports on your website, but they can see what you're doing a little bit, and they get to know your personality a little bit. I think trying to reach realtors, that's where I started. That's why I started doing it. It changed, but I mean, it changed because I didn't know how to market to consumers directly. I couldn't figure out how to do that. I mean, I didn't know how to, I put videos out there, but nobody was really seeing them. But I could target realtors, right? I could go and follow them, and hopefully they follow me, and just I could talk to them at events and things like that and get them to follow my social media. That I knew how to do that. But to get just a general public to listen to what you were saying and to follow you, that was hard. I didn't know how to do that. And honestly, through the grit and resilience and just continuing to do it, eventually it happened, right? It got large enough. And it doesn't have to be super large for this to happen. But I mean, like, I just had enough of a following that it started to make an impact on my business. Now, a majority of my business actually comes from social media, and a lot of it is just direct to consumer. It's the person. Sometimes I don't even have a realtor, and they are calling me for the inspection. I think a lot of us as inspectors, I mean, we have a love-hate relationship with realtors, right? They give us business, but it is nice to know, like, that the client has chosen us specifically, or that we don't have to worry about whether or not we're killing a deal. I mean, stuff like that comes into play with realtors, and how we, of course, it's never like affected the way I do my job, but it's hard not to think about, if you're relying on that realtor to send you business, it's hard not to think about what your inspection, the market leaves, the impression that it leaves with that realtor. But what if you weren't marketing to them, right? And so that's just what happened to me. All of a sudden, I'm just marketing to people directly. And so it changed. At first, it was realtors, and I think still that's a good place to start.
You mean you don't have 257,000 realtors following you in the Houston area?
Maybe 200.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, but no, let's actually, guys. You want to pivot to the crowd here and kind of see what
Absolutely.
let's take a survey here. Yeah. Guys, we want to hear on both of these fronts. What are some things that you guys are doing to not stay in your lane when it comes to doing your job in the field? And then let's also ask the question, what are some things that you guys are doing, thinking outside the box in terms of marketing, be it what you're doing for outreach or social media? Let's talk to you guys. Who wants to be on a podcast? Whoa, right, man. Right. Will, I know you do, dude. Come on. Yeah, you were wanting to get on the show, and you're going to this afternoon. Let's go. What? Yeah, we've got a box right here. Yeah.
Oh, here, man, catch it. Talk right into it. Oh, damn it!
If it hits you, you have to talk. Hey,
check.
Get right up on it. Yeah.
Check.
There you go. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hold that real close. So, what do you think? Some things that you're doing to kind of be outside the box, man?
I'm just going to talk on the outside of the box for networking.
Sure.
Because I think that's the best I can explain for what I've done. So, utilizing Facebook to tag realtors in the posts that I've met at networking events and become friends with, and it gets their exposure out. They'll end up resharing your post from your page because
that's good.
They're tagged.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one way that I was kind of the first in our area to start. And kind of like what you said, I'll go to these events. Hey, I've seen your stuff. I've seen your photos. So the feedback is real.
That's a great strategy.
So another strategy was sports.
Ooh,
using sports like NFL or NHL or whatever you want to do. But you learn what sport teams people like. You can do watch parties where you're like a sponsor.
Yeah. Dude, that's actually a great idea.
You're doing raffles. So we've expanded into that world, and that's the non-realtor world.
Right.
That's where you're bringing in people, and they're like, oh, you're a local home inspector, and this is all just, what we're trying to presenting sponsor of today's watch party at this brewery, and it's been good. That's worked out really
good
well.
On you, Will. Dude, That's awesome. Hey, give Will a hand there. It's actually really great, man. So, and keep the box right there because I got a question for Dave since he's been doing this the longest here outside of Mike.
That was Mike.
Yeah, it was Mike. Yeah. We're getting you a hat, dude. We will. So, longevity. Let's talk about that. What are some things that you've done or ways that you've grown and kind of expanded the way you go about your business in the 30 plus years that you've been operating?
I started originally with a company, got trained for about 3 years, and decided I want to go out on my own. I wanted to be more of a boutique and not a volume-based business. And I just stayed that way through these years, try to be true to myself, true to my clients, and just give them the best job and to go outside the lanes a lot.
Yes.
In other words, the SOPs are great, but you can say more. You can help people more. Don't worry about being sued all the time. Everybody's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get sued. You're probably not.
How many times in 30 years?
I love that.
How many times?
Yeah. If it- you don't have to. You can lie.
No,
Zero, right?
I was threatened 2 or 3 times. I had to hire an attorney one time. They dropped the case because they were just pissed at the seller, and I was just brought into the mix.
Yeah. So it really wasn't that big of a threat at all, man.
It cost me money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. I love it. So no, those are both awesome testimonies. Guys, give a hand for Dave again. That's awesome.
I have a question for Dave, actually.
Yes.
So in the time that you've been doing this, which is considerably longer than a lot of the people in the room, what is one of the biggest things that you've seen that has changed in the industry itself?
Technically, it's gotten a lot more advanced. I mean, from NRC paper when I first started to all the computer programs, people are getting a much better product, the reports,
Right.
but we're getting more technical with our knowledge, what we're giving them. The building science is huge. I would advise everybody to learn more about that. These houses are complicated.
No, that's awesome,
great.
man. Awesome, for sure. Will, I was actually thinking, I want to touch on something that you said too, which is thinking outside the box when it comes to networking. Matt, we haven't talked about this. I wanted to actually, hopefully we can do an entire podcast episode on this at some point. I had the privilege of sitting down with the marketing lead from a title agency north of Tampa, which has nothing to do with home inspections, except that I did immediately get a lead out of it.
There you
But
go.
that worked. But my question to them wasn't really about, how could I partner as an inspector? I followed them on social media because very little of what they actually post is title related. A lot of it is showcasing the social media work that they do for realtors, because their target audience is realtors. Even though they could talk, till they're blue in the face about what they had to offer as a titling agency.
Who's going to watch that?
Exactly. Yeah. So they're like, hey, how about this? These realtors need headshots. They need content. Let's actually put together a little media house that they can use. And then now it's a captive audience, right? It's just a cool way of thinking outside of the
Yeah.
box and getting outside of the lane.
Yeah, that's different. That's real cool.
Yeah, definitely. We've got one other, voice of reason I think we should tap into down here. He's sitting in the front, Cal Patel. We've had an episode with you before, man, about franchising and the benefits of it. But if there's anybody in this room that has a tendency to habitually think outside of the box and swerve betwixt lanes, I'd say it might be you, man. So from launching an inspection company to franchising it, give us some steps that kind of made you think that big.
So I didn't think that big at the beginning. So the only thing that really inspired me to go into the franchising was I had read a book called E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And it's all about setting up systems, right? Having systems that you can replicate. And then obviously, I think a lot of you know this, but my first year, I was up on a roof doing an inspection, slipped off the ladder, fell 18 feet onto concrete, shattered my right arm. Couldn't do inspections anymore. So that's when I started franchising. So it was accidental, right? But because I had the intent of trying to create systems, right? And I think all of you should be setting up systems. So that way, when you hire someone, you can continue on with giving them a playbook, right, on how to grow and continue that success.
That's great advice.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Definitely
Yeah.
appreciate that. Now, you've got a book out too, right?
I do. I do.
Do you want to plug it real quick?
I actually brought a copy for you.
Oh, man.
So yes,
I dig it.
It's Fueled by Purpose is the title of the book, and it really goes back from my journey, starting with, where I was actually born in India, 2 years old when I left, came here, and just started working through different businesses, different jobs, and it kind of goes through the thought process of how I did what I did, why I'm doing it, and all of it begins with purpose, right? So when you guys think about why you're in the business of doing home inspections, what was the true purpose that got you started, right? And if you can stay true to that purpose and continue with the grit, perseverance, all the ingredients that you need, you will be successful. Surround yourself with people like this in this room.
Exactly.
Very important, right? So, yeah, that would be, yeah. So if
I
you
would-
guys want a copy of the book?
Awesome. Do you have them here?
Thank you. I do. I have a few copies.
Okay. I love that though, because when I started, and I did the same thing as Brent, like I started my company right off the bat. I got licensed. In Texas, we have to be, go through this a pretty long process of licensing. I got licensed and I started my own company right off the bat. I would not have. I actually don't advise it to most people. It is a lot. It is hard. It took a long time to gain traction, and there's an awful lot of risk involved too. I don't think it's a great idea for most people, but I wouldn't have been able to do it if I didn't surround myself with what I feel like are just the best people, the best support system. And how I met them was, through events like this, or classes. It's not always about whatever certificate or whatever it is that you're learning from whoever's speaking. You get that, but the added benefit of networking is building a network around you of people that you can trust and lean on when you need them.
That's awesome. And, when it comes to community and surrounding yourselves with good people, I just want to say, man, I'm thankful for every single one of these people here, man. Yeah, this is huge. Give you guys selves a round of applause for being here. Truly, this has been awesome. But there's one more question I want to throw out to the audience, because we don't do this just to, spit into the wind here, to flap our gums. This is for y'all, right? We want to benefit y'all and put out content that you guys want to hear, and that's meaningful to y'all. So if you want to pass the QA box, the microphone here, and share, what are some topics that you guys would like us to cover coming up as people who listen to the show?
And if you think of something later, like write it right into us.
Yeah, seriously, come stop by the booth outside. Do we have somebody in the back there?
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. Yeah.
Hey, hi, my name's Mark. Just feeding off of what you were saying about surrounding yourself with good people and having that network. When I started, it was really helpful for me by joining a local chapter and feeding off the knowledge of inspectors like Dave, who's doing a lot longer than I was. We're in the same chapter, but getting active and trying to help educate other inspectors. I would strongly encourage any inspector to try and get into that kind of a network, whether it's a local or an online chapter or whatever. It really can pay dividends.
Yeah, it's crucial. Thank you for that.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Other topics or things that you guys want to hear about in the next year ahead as we're
Any guests that you want us to have on?
Yeah. Actually, I'll tell you while y'all are thinking about it. There's a way that if you want to, you can submit some information, or you can actually leave us a voicemail. If you go, there's a website for the show called theridealong.show, and you can leave a voicemail on there. We would love to hear from you guys, and we'll feature that on the show in the future too. Be pretty neat. But this has really been awesome, guys. Let's give one final quick pro tip to everybody here as far as thinking outside the box. Travis, what you got?
Well, since I'm not an inspector, I think what I will say is how much I appreciate you guys, and say collectively as a society, we need you. You're the person out there you're not the builder. You're getting paid for information. There's a saying kind of in the home performance testing world, like people hate paying for just information. They want to pay for outcomes. But in your case, oftentimes they have to pay for that information. So as you make it better, more educational, teach people about how our homes are becoming a little bit more fragile as we get more airtight and have to deal with it. We're really counting on you guys to help people, because a lot of people just have no clue what their home is about, how their home is a system. And we need you guys and all the inspectors to help us kind of raise the bar.
That's huge. Brent, what you got?
I'd say get to know your clients. Just individually, as you get there on the inspection, get to know who they are as a people, and then it will help you be able to convey what you're finding to them a little bit easier in a way that they can understand, a way that you can walk them through it, and just work with them better as a home inspector overall than the knowledge that you can provide them.
That's big. Matt, take us out.
So I think for me, it's managing expectations from the client, right? Figuring out what their needs are, what their concerns are, and how you can better help them is huge. So managing expectations is really huge for us as inspectors at Texas Edge.
And I'm going to say, don't be afraid to think big and be inspired by people who do. We've got a bunch of them on this stage here. Real quick, guys, where can they follow you? Because honestly, use what they do as inspiration for something that you can do.
Yep, mainly just on Instagram. Travis Builds It is my handle.
You can find me Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Most of them are Inspector Fletch or at Fletcher's Home Inspections.
I'm Matt, Texas Edge Inspect. You can find me at Texas Edge Inspect.
Fantastic, guys. Well, honestly, and that's going to do it for the first inaugural, the Ride Along Inspection Fuel. This has been great. Thank you guys again so much for being here. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Brent. And Brent actually changed his flight so he could be here. So
That's
big
right.
hand for Brent. That's awesome, man.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, truly, thank you. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time right here on
The Ride Along.
You Got It.
Just a reminder, we have a QR code. Please let us know what you think.